Sonic is in a really precarious state, isn't he? I'm not just talking about how nearly all of his games have been consistent 7 out of 10s or below for years now. The Sonic community is one of the most insane and disturbing places you could possibly be in online, and that's only a slight exaggeration. It's such a well-understood sentiment and obvious joke that saying Sonic has a weird fan base is a joke in itself. You don't even have to be a part of the community to know how much weird fan art exists, how much insane fan fiction exists, the raw depravity and insanity that is a huge swath of his fans have for this one blue-eyed rat and his friends. But honestly, I'm a lot more interested in Sonic's community than his games. Sega has proven time and time again that either through Sonic Team's inability to make games or comically poor decision making, that his games are kind of mid, but their fans are clearly more capable of creating games and stories better than Sega could ever cook up. Have you ever spoken to a really enthusiastic Sonic fan? The ideas they'll tell you will sound miles better than anything Sega has officially made, even if it's sometimes mixed in with obscure fetishes, or shipping, or trying to steal your data for taking their OC's sprites. Just take a look at how fans are trying to fix Sonic 06, one of the most infamously broken and disappointing games ever made. There's a mod that just came out that tries to make Sonic Forces a good game, which might even be harder than trying to fix 06. Hell, one of my favorite Sonic things in general are the old animated Sonic shorts on Newgrounds. I found the gag of Vector breaking into Sonic's house to teach him how to plow Amy so funny that I showed my grandma, who did not find it funny. There's an unrivaled level of passion and dedication found in the Sonic community, so much so that it usually outperforms the people who make the games. There are countless examples of Sega just felting a Sonic project, but let me introduce two things: the Sega Saturn and Sonic Extreme. Remember the Saturn? Me neither. It was the console between the Genesis and the Dreamcast, most famously characterized by its lack of Sonic games. That's because Sega was busy massively wasting everyone's time with trying to make the first 3D Sonic game called Sonic Extreme, that got cancelled, and eventually morphed into Sonic Adventure for their next console to be released in 1997. It wasn't long after that Sega announced they wouldn't be supporting the Dreamcast in like 2000 or 2001. Then they released Sonic Adventure 2. But given Sega's history of tumultuous game development, there are always rumors that the adventure games had a little bit more going on, or they were planned to be other games in that time period. Just how many projects had Sega cancelled or left unfinished to release something else? What are we missing? And lo and behold, these rumors might just be true. As the tale goes, in 2013, a hacker group calling themselves Arcane Kids acquired a Dreamcast development kit from eBay. After 2 years of decompiling and trying to put everything back together, they released 4 playable builds of potential Sonic games released to the public for free. This was published on the website Hedgehog Exposed, along with the download link for Windows and Mac. So let's explain in a bit more detail. People have always theorized what was locked in the Sega Vault, whether it be prototypes, unreleased games, concepts, etc. Anything that could explain the harsh development of their Sonic games on the Saturn and into the Dreamcast. Arcane Kids finds a Dreamcast dev kit, presumably sold from an ex-developer, and discovers 4 different Sonic games that were either abandoned or never meant to be more than proof of concepts. This is a Sonic fan's dream, a potential answer why the franchise was so weird in the late 90s and early 2000s. Not to mention 4 different games, albeit unfinished, is a lot of content to unpack. What exactly was Sega planning? Why did they stop working on all 4 of these games? Perhaps it was because these games simply didn't meet their standards. Whatever standards they claim to have, at least. Maybe it's a bit more sinister than that. Maybe these 4 games hide something dark, some shocking secrets that the public was never meant to see. Something that made the whole company panic and pull the plug. And considering what they were willing to release and charge a premium price for, that's scary. Things like the Sonic CD Majin screens and other Sonic mysteries and oddities throughout the years, there's always been a weird aura of intrigue around Sonic. Sometimes there are just these little things in his games that make you feel off. Those are just the things we know. What has been kept hidden from us? How deep did the Michael Jackson involvement go? The download folder for this collection of 4 games holds all the game files, obviously, but 2 README files. The first README has a transcript of the website's expose, along with some details about the proprietary Dreamcast emulator Arcane created called Snake Oil, along with a weird conversation they had with Knuckles' voice actor. The second README says, it says subscribe to Hey Peter! Arcane Kids went 9 years back in the past just to shout out my channel. How very kind of them. Look here, they even made some ASCII art advertising my Patreon, which you might already be on if you really wanted to see this video super early, as well as a ton of extra exclusive Patreon videos. Ever want to know why I'm banned from my local Walmart? All that and more is available on my Patreon. Huge thanks to Arcane Kids shilling me in their project. Even better than Patreon, you could always sub to the channel and like the video. Why? Because I told you to, and you don't want to see what happens when you don't do what I tell you to do. Anyways, all we have to do is launch the exe file and explore what has been dubbed Sonic Dreams Collection, with 4 unreleased Sonic prototypes to sink our teeth into. As Sonic would say, it's chili dog time! Oh man, look at that UI. It just screams late 90s. I've mentioned it in other videos, but I recently bought a Dreamcast and have been enjoying it quite a bit, at least as much as one can when trying to play Sonic Adventure 1. Please don't make fun of me for my Mad Catz controller, it's very comfortable. The ambience is all there. The menu just has that Sega sound, so many little interactable things. Even though these are slightly reconstructed prototypes, you can feel the animated love and charming unpolished flair to it. You ever notice that? How Sonic Team has never finished a game before? I feel like most Sonic games have ideas and set pieces that are way out of scope for the development team, but darn it all, they will try and make it work. Keyword being try. Anyways, let's take a look at our 4 games, conveniently labeled with the years they were developed in. From 96 to 99, 4 Sonic games have been locked away in the vault, previously undiscovered until now. And the earliest game found is Make My Sonic. I guess right after they cancelled Sonic Extreme, they started working on this. Make My Sonic is MJ Studios' first result in their collaboration from Sega. Wait, MJ Studio? We don't really know anything about this mysterious development team. Nothing comes up on a Google search, some bona fide Sonic experts I spoke to on Discord were stumped as well. It doesn't seem like they really exist, but perhaps they were a newly formed team that shortly disbanded after the 90s, so it isn't absurd to imagine that the internet never caught on to this ultra-obscure team. But more interesting than their history is their games, especially their first one. What this program is an honest-to-truth original character creator, decades before Sonic Forces would do it. The purpose of this game was to, obviously, create your own character and upload it to SegaNet, which was an online service provided by the company connected to dial-up internet for people to play multiplayer games online. With how well the Dreamcast did, which is to say not at all, the online services were very short-lived, so it makes sense why it shut down so quickly. But why was this OC creator never used? The gist of this game is that you get to greatly modify this Sonic model here by messing with the individual proportions of his head, legs, arms, as well as being able to change the color of his fur and the background to take screenshots. The names seem to be randomized, which is pretty funny, but a little disappointing because you can't name your hedgehog OC after yourself. For a fun game, go online and search up Your Name the Hedgehog and see what comes up. Here's what comes up for me. Do you like my new OC? His name is Anti-Jeff the Hedgehog. No idea who regular Jeff is, but it doesn't matter because Anti-Jeff has what it takes to be infinite. We sadly can't upload Anti-Jeff to SegaNet, but I am curious about what the adapter looks like, and if it can work with modern PCs. I thought Arcane Kids would crop out the online connectivity given it's no longer functional, but maybe Snake Oil might have some kind of online capability. Speaking of online, our next game is entirely centered around that. 97's Eggman origin has almost no surviving documentation around it, other than the fact it was some kind of MMORPG, but even Arcane Kids themselves have never made it past the title screen. And that's because once you enter, the game demands you connect to your network adapter, which we don't seem able to do. We're gonna have to leave this one alone for now. But what comes next? 1998 blessed us with Sonic Movie Maker, which is exactly what it sounds. Using the advanced technology of the Dreamcast, you would be able to make your own little Sonic movies featuring the Sonic cast. The internal notes document that this game was the closest to completion until it was shut down due to its, quote, darker subplots. So a nearly finished game was cancelled and hidden away just before release because Sega felt it was too dark to release. What a conspiracy. Sonic Dream Team? Like that Dream Team? There's a list of selectable areas to film your movies in. Oh, hey look, Anti-Jeff and Tails. Movie Maker works like this. You're in first person and you get to move around a lot of objects and models, kind of like Gary's mod. The objective is to film a movie with a video camera until you run out of film, then exit the stage and on to the next. The films only last 6 seconds, making them more like vines than films. Our first stage is the backyard, where Anti-Jeff is featured in this here backdrop with a big truck, playing catch with his invisible or absent father. We get to move around some floating text box to simulate dialogue while I run Jeff over with a truck and record it for the movie. Must be a Roman Polanski movie. Whenever you film a movie, you get to show it to all your friends in a theater. Sonic, Tails, Eggman, and Rouge are all excited to watch whatever epic vines you film for them. Now, the next stage is... wait, what did she say?
Marriage? This? No way! Don't hold anything back now!
Oh my goodness. Welcome to Prom. Sonic Prom. Is this the final scene of Sonic High School? Did anyone else see that video? It's a classic. Looks like Anti-Jeff is pretty popular in Sonic High and managed to bag Rouge the Bat. They spend the prom doing some hot, steamy, passionate love. And it's our job to record this all and put it to the big screen. Wait, how old is Anti-Jeff? I was just joking about this being a Polanski movie. I now headcanon that Rouge is a groomer. If you have a problem with this headcanon, take it up with Sega. The crowd supports Rouge grooming Anti-Jeff, and we move on to our next stage, the hotel. First thing you'll notice is the ambience. The cover of night blankets this Motel 6. The moon shines down on us, and this excellent, comforting track plays in the background. At least it should. For some reason, it didn't play when I booted up the game. This song was called Idle SegaNet in-game, but the song clearly isn't English in origin. But for a while, people couldn't tell exactly what it was. Some dedicated fans dug deeper and found the true origin. It's actually a Portuguese song called Bossa Precoça? Probably not saying that right, by Rafael Davalo Lopez. The soft strings and calming melody of this heartfelt song about lost love and living in regret is such a stark contrast to the chiptunes and boop-bop beeps of the emulated Dreamcast sound Arcane Kids, Sega, used for this game. And it's a brilliant look at how much effort and passion went into the creation of this game. Imagine being MJ Studio, at the behest of Sega, creating this game and choosing to use such an obscure track. Maybe that's why the game was shut down? I don't even know how they found this track. I can barely find any info in it at all when I looked for 5 minutes, the maximum amount of time I care to spend researching something. If we head around this corner of the motel, we find this little Eggy who says he loves Tails, but is far too shy to make a move. Tails is his Bossa Precoça, so to speak. Fun fact, you can grab the moon right out of the sky and look inside, revealing some chaos energy and a giant peering eye. Flat Earth Old news. The moon is an eye? That's bespoke. Enough dawdle, let's see what's happening inside this motel room. Oh my god, oh dear, oh dear. Anti-Jeff, Rouge, along with Blaze and Shadow are engaging in a mass orgy on this disgusting bed, and it's our job to record it. I hope it isn't surprising why Sega decided to axe this game. Yuji Naka probably had the shock of his life when he saw this. Poor Tails is all by his lonesome, drinking his feelings away instead of participating. Sorry, Sonic, my crippling abandonment issues means I'm only into older women. He didn't take Cosmo's death lightly, I guess. We can grab Tails and bring him down to the lonely Eggy, who thanks us with a burning heart that leaves a trail of fire that doesn't despawn. Then we can bring up the heart to roast everyone on the bed and let their flesh really melt together. Beast with 2 backs? How about a beast with 4 backs and 3rd-degree burns? The theater enjoyed seeing me roast everyone alive, and we get to move on to the next stage. But not before I think to myself, what was this dev team thinking? Did they honestly want kids to see this stuff? Our next stage is... Sonic is strapped to a table. Darkness surrounds him, his only comfort being his own body heat warming the cold metal he's restrained against. Giant tube that reaches to the sky connected to a ring on a string is beside us. Pulling the string reveals various bits of food that we are forced to feed Sonic, which makes his belly inflate and inflate. We have to feed him, because it's the only way to spawn the camera needed to beat the level. His belly just inflates and gurgles and groans for more sweets and treats. Anyone in my audience have a boner right now? Feed him enough, and a giant cake with tails on top like the filthy gigolo he is will come out. You ever listen to the song She's Like Heroin by System of a Down? That's kind of how I imagine Tails' life is after Cosmo died. We punish Tails by feeding him to the hungry Sonic. We get a good view of his extended male pregnancy belly and film our Vine, which is a smash hit in theaters. Side note, how many fetishes do you think Sonic as a franchise gave people? I think Sega, both the American and Japanese divisions, intended to mess with people by creating characters like Rouge and having lots of shots of Amy's underwear in the original Sonic adventure. Wonder if anyone ever got a low polygon woman fetish with the swimsuit ladies in Station Square. We enter a hospital for our next stage. The moans and deep breathing of Sonic fill our ears, and it gets really under my skin. I can generally keep my cool playing disturbing games, but the labored breathing really bugs me, and I'm sure others feel the same. And speaking of labor, Sonic seems to have become pregnant with his food inputs, and we have to pull strings to release cannonballs to shoot out the food, and rings, and a Chaos Emerald, and tails. How much of this stuff was stuff he ate, and how much of this stuff was things he shoved up his ass? Shadow and Amy, seemingly as a couple, are watching, either in abject disgust or curiosity, while Eggman rips a fat popper like Ted.
I'm here, Sonic. I've got a new strain called Blue God. It'll make you anxious for a week.
We have to break the window here to grab our camera, as well as get a good view of Station Square, or Westopolis, or Philadelphia, or Iraq, wherever Sonic takes place. Wait, did you see that? We get a good look at Sonic's pregnancy, and we finally get to leave. Wait, Rouge the Bat? Nightcore? Oh god, what is going on? We're in this slimy, disgusting, and vile tunnel full of food and eggs, the sounds of someone huffing softly in the distance. Using the Chaos Emerald as a light, we see, whoa, Big the Cat. He's huddled himself in this dank, dark crevice and won't budge. I chose not to investigate and went to the other tunnel where... Oh my god. Good lord. We just popped outside of Rouge. She gave live birth to us. Tails and Blaze inside the crib. And Auntie Jeff is the father. Wait, if Blaze and Tails are his children, did they travel back in time to bang their parents? Does that mean Big is refusing to leave her womb? What was Sega thinking? Who in their right mind decided that seeing Rouge give live birth, especially as an explanation for characters' parentage, was a good idea? So, when Rouge gave birth to Blaze, did Blaze travel back in time, bang her mom and dad, then travel to the future to be with Silver? She's for the streets! The streets of Crisis City! Play it again? No thank you. Thankfully, this is our last stage, and we get to see a little after party with some of the cast, and a guest book that doesn't work because SegaNet is still inactive. So now that we're done with Sonic Movie Maker, let's take a step back and talk about the nightmare we just experienced. Sega, presumably Sega of Japan, asked this team, MJ Studio, to create a small little indie game in '98 where you get to record vines with Sonic models and set pieces. And the team decided, let's include a Sonic orgy, Sonic feeding fetish, male pregnancy, and a live birth. Out of every location you could have chosen, why these? They didn't even use Neverland Ranch or other fitting locations. I'm surprised they even used characters like Rouge and Blaze, considering they weren't officially revealed in their debut games until 1998, at least. Maybe they had character design documents lying around? Since we get next to no communication from Sega to begin with, we don't know the exact reason why this game got the plug pulled on it. Well, I mean, we can kind of guess why. It was all the fetish content in the game. But to be a fly on the wall in the offices that day when they pulled the plug in this game. What the hell is this? Using characters we haven't even made yet and made Rouge give birth to this? You're working on Sonic Adventure 1, which also releases this year, and then we're killing you. Yeah, this is Japan. We can do that in the workplace. Adventure 1 must have taken priority for the new console, so if MJ Studio wasn't fired outright, then they were probably folded into that dev team to complete the game in time. Maybe they were the ones who suggested the Big the Cat sections. It's easy to joke that this was some kind of gross content would be featured in weird Sonic fan art or fanfiction, but maybe we were looking in the wrong direction the entire time and should have focused on the creators. Maybe they really did plan to give a bunch of small children a bunch of disgusting fetishes and ruin their lives forever. Our last game is My Roommate Sonic, which is an early VR game that apparently explores, as the description explains, the relationship between human and hedgehog set in a modern apartment complex. Oh, so flowers in the attic but with Sonic. The reason this game was never released was because it was intended for a Sega virtual reality headset, which never saw the light of day. Ignoring the animal sex, which is an insane thing to say, what has Sega done to our children? We gotta talk about this VR situation. It might sound silly to say Sega was planning on implementing virtual reality technology back in the 90s, but the scrapped headset was a real thing planned since the Genesis. All progress on the tech and the games was scrapped because of the whole boatload of reasons, but one of those games was apparently a simulation of being roommates with Sonic. Thanks, Sega. Arcane Kids even added Oculus support, though I'm not sure if the company's rebrand to Meta means it's still compatible or not. Not like I can even test it, because I may or may not have lost my Quest 2 headset when I moved. Oops. We can still play it in flat screen though, just with a messed up aspect ratio. You and Sonic are chilling on the couch, watching some kind of actual hedgehog footage on your TV. I won't question the logistics of this world presented here because your main objective is not just to be Sonic's roommate, but his lover. You are romantically obsessed with Sonic and really want him to jump into your pants. Helping you on your love quest is Dr. Eggman, or Robotnik if he's from the 90s, who lives in the same complex as you and is guiding you through your seduction of Sonic on the phone. He tells us to give Sonic the tickles, which means, okay, he has toes? Okay. Sonic Adventure told me Sega characters don't have toes, just giant smooth pads. Maybe that's why this game was cancelled. Oh, a password. White glove. Hold that password in mind. We keep tickling Sonic's realistically detailed feet until he starts getting little anime girl blushes and leans in for a kiss. We stare deeply into his eyes. Deep. Too deep, too deep! That was my roommate Sonic, and we unlock the apartment as a bonus stage of the Movie Maker. Now that we've gone through all 4 games, we can start to paint a picture as to why these 4 projects were never officially released. Arcane Kids spent a lot of time polishing these for release on modern PCs, but every one of these are evidently not finished. Many of them rely on outdated or non-functional technology, like a cancelled VR headset or inactive online servers. The elephant, or hedgehog, in the room is of course the insanely graphic content. Why they decided to include all the freak show stuff they did in the Movie Maker was beyond me. Sega's made questionable decisions before, but I don't think they would have been okay with letting Eggman smoke a bowl. But all 4 being cancelled right after each other is a curious mystery, and there is more stuff to uncover, we just have to look carefully. If we go back into the Movie Maker and go to the Prom stage, there's something pretty interesting we can grab. What is it? I actually don't know what it's called, but in order to obtain it, you have to find a very specific pineapple back here and use your scroll wheel to hit it against this barely visible eggy up here, and it spawns this horrible blue monstrosity that we now get to spawn whenever we'd like. With it, we can clip through walls and get to all sorts of funny places we shouldn't be able to, and unlock some cleverly hidden dialogue if we do. No one's as horny as me, I'll tell you that. Sometimes I come up here to think about why I'm sad almost all the time.
So you made it to my secret area. Grab a stogie.
Another secret is in the hospital scene. If you give this down as luck Eggy one of the rings that shot out of Sonic's ass... Oh, that's nice. But I know exactly what you're here for. You want to know how to get into Eggman Origin, and by extension, if we can get into SegaNet. Well, we can. And I can show you this right after this break. So sit tight and relax. And we're back. What you want to do is actually open up the files of the game, go to Extra Files and Unsafe Files. We can find some saucy info about Rouge, but a separate .exe file that actually launches a window to SegaNet. We just need a username, a password, and a protocol. The username should be obvious, it's MJ Studio. The password has already been revealed to us, it's White Glove spelled like this. The protocol is just SegaNet North America, and we can log in and actually launch SegaNet one last time, decades after Sega shut it down. Windows Defender freaks out if you launch this, and as I understand it, it does do something to your computer's network connectivity. I was too lazy to launch XAMPP to get the exact details though. Someone else can do that. With SegaNet actually launching, we can properly load Anti-Jeff to SegaNet, after a race swap. With this, Eggman Origin, the Lost Sonic MMORPG, is finally accessible. Let's see what we're missing. We can log into the last remaining server and discover our purpose. Feed the young Eggman over here worms you find in the ground in this white, featureless void. Kind of like what happens to Sammer's Kingdom in Super Paper Mario. You can meet various Eggies who don't always show up at the same time, but are all equally strange. There's a house burning down, somewhere. Unrelated but not a fun fact, I knew someone in elementary school whose house burned down, and when the school begged for donations to help the family, most kids found it funny that his name was Jack Frost and didn't give any money. Not really sure what happened to him afterwards. No one has ever run through the shuttle loop and survived. Our grandpa built the 4 pillars. Someday, I'll get up on one and scream. The objective of the game is to feed Eggman as many worms as you can, which proves kind of difficult because your environment being entirely white makes it a huge eyesore, and makes it difficult to know where you're going. Regardless of how long it takes, you need to feed Eggman 6 worms until he morphs into whatever that is. You must climb the tower and...
Hedgehog.
God? I ascended to heaven.
Hello, my son. Welcome to heaven.
Boom. That's why I put him in the thumbnail, by the way. And with that, we have done nearly everything there is to do in Sonic Dream Collection. But there is one more thing to reveal, and it's the darkest, most shocking, most vile secret of all. It's fake. This game, or the 4 games inside, are not actually games made by Sega in any way. This has entirely been a fan project created by the ground up by Arcane Kids. Sorry, you weren't just clickbaited, you got scammed, owned, and But what does that really mean? It means that this group of game creators, not hackers who got a real dev kit, intentionally decided to create a video game under the guise of it being a previously unknown game Sega had worked on. But obviously, this isn't running on a Dreamcast emulator, it's running on Unity. MJ Studio doesn't exist. It's a fictitious company created by Arcane poking fun at all the Michael Jackson drama with Sega. Everything was made by Arcane Kids as one giant prank project, but also as a labor of appreciation, let's call it, for Sonic and his rambunctious community. I'm sure it was obvious enough for most people watching by the Movie Maker section of the video, if not right from the very start, that this was a fan creation and not something officially licensed or developed. Jokes about weird fetishes Sonic fans have been a dime a dozen for years and kind of kill the immersion. But by the point you see any of that in-game, you're hooked in too deep and simply must see the whole thing through to the end. What Arcane Kids did was make a creepy fan game with an incredible premise that was the darling of YouTube Let's Players back in 2015 when it released. Classic Hey Peter, only talking about a game a decade after it came out. The jig is up, but I decided to play dumb and pretend that these 4 projects were in fact real games developed in-house at some point because I believe the strongest way to experience this game is going in completely blind. If you knew this was a game about poking fun about Sonic OCs, Sonic porn, fanfiction, a lot of the twists and charm is rendered kind of moot in my opinion. It isn't that the game isn't fun if you know beforehand, it's that you're missing the experience of discovering it's a troll if you do. What I'm saying is, you are supposed to be baited, hence why I decided to make the video like this. Don't get me wrong, there are almost definitely more Sonic Lost games that we don't know about, and they might even be weirder than Sonic Dream Collections. Maybe. What especially impressed me is just how much work went into this project. There's a very clear love that Arcane has for the franchise, even if it's kind of backhanded and inherently a parody of the franchise. But the aesthetics of the Dreamcast are alive and well in the form of fan projects. Recall the wonderful song that was featured in the hotel part. The translated lyrics tell a somber tale of lost love and longing, which, if you really want to go deep about it, could be a serenade included to illustrate how the dev team felt about Sonic's state in 2015. About how something once cherished has become wicked and far away in their hearts and minds. Or it could just be a neat song they found like including, which has no meaning whatsoever. So what became of Arcane Kids now that the cat is out of the bag? They've made a couple other games, and one of its members, Ben Esposito, went on to be the project lead for a bunch of recognizable games like Edith Finch, Tattletale, and Neon White. I've not played any of those games, and I don't think I ever will because none of them look fun. If even for just a moment, Anti-Jeff became real through a mock SegaNet server, the purple, grooming victim and husband to Rouge the Bat, father of Tails and Blaze. And I must thank Arcane Kids for their hard work to make my OC come to life, and to spread the word of just how Looney Tunes the Sonic community can be. Been kind of mean to them all throughout the video, but I'm cool with the Sonic community. I don't enjoy most of his games, but the few I do are pretty fun. And there aren't many other examples of such a dedicated, passionate, and abused fan base out there. And at the end of the day, I just feel bad for them, and wish Sega would treat them better. And at least they aren't brownies. With that, I must bid Sonic farewell, for now. I have a lot more Sonic content coming to my Patreon, so join today to see it all. Why don't you stick around to the channel and subscribe to see more coverage of strange, obscure, and weird video games, just like Sonic Dreams Collection. I think I'll be okay with deleting the files for this game off my PC forever because I'm afraid Anti-Jeff will escape and kill me in my sleep. And until we meet again, have a lovely rest of your day.